Hey everybody, it's time for another GMG review. Today we're taking a look at Warhammer, the Horus Heresy, Liber Hereticus, possibly the ones that caused the heresy itself, the Word Bearers. Now this is, of course, a series designed to give you sort of the ins and outs of each of the legions, sort of what they're about and how they play, and help you decide if that's the legion for you in this new edition of the Warhammer 30,000 core game. The Word Bearers. Well, their jam is, of course, historically, that they are great, sort of like true believers, and that actually is the name of their special keyword that they all gain. They were censored early in the Great Crusade, well, I guess before the heresy, during the Great Crusade, for deifying the Emperor, and of course, the Ultramarines were sent to censor them, and completely wrecked Monarchia, which was the planet they were on, tore down all their monoliths, and humbled Lorgar in front of all of his brothers. And that right there, that act where the Emperor was kind of being deified by this legion, and then it gets like smacked down, is basically going to set the stage for the entire Horus Heresy. This one guy, Erebus, High Apostle or Dark Apostle of the Word Bearers, basically takes the broken Lorgar and tells him, well, there are things worth worshipping in the galaxy. They're just not the Emperor. And that in turn sets plans in motion that corrupts Horus, turns him into the War Master, and of course causes the entire Horus Heresy. So if you wanna be sinister, if you wanna dive right into the whole Warp Touch corrupted thing, right from the beginning, have access to Demons of the Ruinstorm, the Galvabrak, which are the possessed Marines that go into the Eye of Terror the first time around to try and study it, and come back for the rest of the Legion like weeks later, for the Galvabrak years later, where they've like cannibalized and eaten all the crew and been touched by chaos. Yeah, read First Heretic, and this might be the Legion for you. So, true believers, a model with this special can never have its leadership modified below a value of 6. Furthermore, if one or more models of the special are part of a combat that results in a draw, they count as winning by 1 instead. So that doesn't sound like the greatest special rule until you start playing this game and you realize how incredibly decisive combats are. Once you flee a combat, if you lose by a huge amount, if 9 of your guys get killed out of a 20-man squad, you're going to leadership 0 if you lost by that completely. So a Primarch that you can't hurt wades into a 20-man squad of Space Marines, kills 9 guys, they auto-flee, and then you have to dice off plus your initiative, and his initiative of 6 or 7 against their initiative of 4, he just runs them down and they all die. So having a set leadership of 6 at all times is actually a huge deal, especially when you take into account things like the Night Lord's Fear rule, and various other fear rules that come into the game that can reduce your leadership, and other kind of psychic powers and stuff that can cause pinning. So being always leadership 6, it's not the best roll, it's not 7, but it makes you incredibly durable, and then being able to break drawn combats is pretty powerful as well. You have access to the Arms of Colchis, which is that you can take the unique war gear of the Word Bearers, Priests of the Forgotten Lore. Your Praetors can be turned into Burning Lore, basically. They can become Diabolists, which is their special psychic powers. They're kind of like demon priests, though, although it does make them psychers. And then Disciples of Lorgar, your warlord traits. There are no good guys here, just so you know. You're not going to find a lot of loyalists in the Word Bearers. In fact, the one Terran Word Bearer that is humbled when Monarchia gets destroyed becomes even more evil almost than the rest of them. Your advanced reaction now. This is a pretty bananas advanced reaction. Of course, it can be done once per game, like all the advanced reactions. But it basically allows you to, when you are targeted by an attack, and the unit is composed entirely of Word Bearers, a single model in the reacting players with the Legion Strays Word Bearer special roll in the reacting unit is removed as a casualty immediately without any to hit or wound rolls being made as part of the shooting attack, and you cannot use damage mitigation or any other rule that would like help to save it. So basically 20 Space Marines get shot by something, you declare this reaction, no hit and wound rolls will make, you kill one guy automatically, the entire rest of the shooting attack is no longer resolved. It's just done. The whole unit's shooting, he eats it all. Whatever he does, however he sacrifices himself, stops the rest of the attack from going through. If any of the weapons in the attacking unit would normally inflict further hits after causing an unsafe wound, such as weapons of Deflagate or whatever, then these additional Hexer effects are also ignored and have no effect. So yeah, The hits though from ordnance and destroyer or blast or template weapons ignore the effects this reaction resolved as normal. So you can hit units with flamers or blast templates or whatever. Obviously one guy's not going to take all the hits, but somehow or other the glorious martyrdom, you get hit with 10 las cannons for once per game. You can just have your guy go, no, I'm going to eat all 10 of those las cannons somehow. You have to imagine it's kind of like them running out and distracting all the targeting and like just drawing all the fire to themselves and just keep moving until they do, or they, put their boxers on a stick and wave them until it gets shot off like Bugs Bunny. But however it works, once per game, basically, you can absorb all the hits into a single guy. And all the other effects from unsaved wounds too, like blind or concussive, just aren't effective either. It's just, dude gets martyred. So pretty powerful, and I mean once per game, but you could imagine that at the right time that being used could completely offset a unit's shooting. So now you've got your traits, enslaved by darkness, traitor only. This is a almost mirror of the Sons of Horus one. The world of this trait becomes corrupted automatically. They gain the corrupted subtype, which means that they also cause fear, don't fall back, but take wounds instead, and can't join other squads that aren't corrupted. But they are always traitor allegiance as well. And at the start of every turn, roll a d6. The world with this trait modifies their strength and toughness by a value determined by the, actually don't roll a d6, sorry. Yeah, the game turn, you're basically demonic, modifies your strength and toughness. So on turn 1, 2 and 3, you are +1 to your strength and toughness, with no modifiers on turn 4 and 5 and -1 on turn 6. When targeted by any weapon or a special rule that targets the demon unit type, the world's counted as if it had that unit type. In addition, an army whose warlord has this trait can make an additional reaction during the player's movement phase as long as they're still alive. So you basically get the demon rule without getting the demon rule, and you're all jacked up for the first 3 turns. You're normal afterwards as you start to tire out, and then the warp starts to like ebb, and then you're -1 at the end. Your next one's Unswerving Devotion. So any unit that has at least one model within 6 of a word bearer, so that has the word bearer keyword is within 6 of you, including the warlord himself and any unit they've joined, automatically pass the first morale or pinning check they need to make each turn. So no dice are rolled, you just auto pass the first one. That's actually really powerful, like, especially against certain armies that rely on pinning or fear and stuff. So not only are you unmodified leadership 6, but like Iron Warriors barraging you, or pin checks from like rotary cannons, or all the fear that can be caused by flame weapons and the Promethean cult from the Salamanders, you're going to just auto pass those first tests and then be fixed leadership 6 later on. In addition, an army who has this warlord can make an additional reaction in the shooting phase as long as they're still alive. And then Iconoclast, your job is to break down the statuary and walls of the unbelievers. You and any unit you join, if you have this warlord trait, gain +1 attack when locked in combat with an enemy unit that includes at least one model with the independent character special rule, so the believers. A Legion Vexilla or a Legion Standard. So anything with a flag, basically, like an icon. When making a shooting attack or a melee attack that targets a fortification, building, or other terrain piece with a toughness characteristic, you get +2 strength, or the strength of any weapon that you use. So you gain it, or your guns gain it, because you're good at tearing that stuff down. In addition, you get additional reaction in the assault phase as long as you haven't been removed as a casualty. So very thematic. It's all about belief. You'll see that when you get to Lorgar himself. He's all about belief. He's not all about brawn. All right, and then your rites of war. The first one, these are your alternate force organization styles. If you have a Master of the Legion, you can take one of these. So the first one's the Dark Brethren. And I love this one because it doesn't really require you to take specific things apart from being traitor. And it has like a consequence. But basically, you're trying to sacrifice stuff to chaos. At the start of the battle, after both sides have deployed your entire army, you pick an enemy unit that's on the table. If everything's in reserve, then you pick a unit that's in reserve. As soon as that model is destroyed, if all their models are destroyed, you get to pick a unit in your army to become under the gaze of the Dark Gods. Every unit in your army can be gazed up to 3 times, and each time they get the gaze of the Dark Gods, they add one of their strength, movement, and weapon skills. They just hulk out when you destroy the sacrifice unit. But you have a downside, which is in any turn where you don't cause at least one unsaved wound to the unit that you've marked up for sacrifice, then a unit at random in your army suffers Perils of the Warp, which is D3 unsavable wounds, basically, except for vulnerable saves. You have to be a traitor. So I think this is the one that like literally just always take for the word bearers, because you're going to hunt a unit, you're going to pick a unit that you're going to attack every turn anyway. The downside isn't that bad because you could just put on a character something with an invulnerable save. And also, I mean, you're the Dark Brethren. You're trying to sacrifice people. It's just thematically perfect for the word bearers, and basically is what causes the Ruin Storm. Because the Betrayal at Calth, they basically marked the entire Ultramarines Legion for sacrifice, and it rips a giant hole in the galaxy and covers all of Ultramar almost in it. And then the Rite of War, the last of the Serrated Sun. So the Serrated Sun are the company that gets sent into the Eye of Terror to kind of like observe it, led by argelto, and come back all jacked up and chaosy. So the last of the Serrated Sun are the ones that come back. It means that Galvabrak squads can be taken as troop choices. All Galvabrak squads and attachments using this Rite of War may select Dreadclaw drop pods as dedicated transports. And any unit composed entirely of models with the infantry unit type and access to a Legion Rhino can take a drop pod instead. So a detachment that uses this Rite of War may not include anything that's movement 0, because you're like a shock army, or has the artillery unit type. An army unless it has the orbital assault vehicle rule. So your drop pods, obviously, are movement 0 after they deploy. An army whose primary detachment is using this Rite of War can't take an allied detachment, because nobody wants to see the creepy monsters. You cannot be used as an allied detachment either, because you don't unleash the creepy monsters by themselves. And an army that includes a detachment of this Rite of War must have the Traitor Alliance, because you're the freaky demons. All right, your armory, the Burning Lore. So this is your upgrade that makes your Praetors, Legion, Tartarus Praetors, or any of the other guys who are like your main big characters, the Cataphracti one. Gets the Burning Lore for 25 points, becomes a Diabolist. And you can look under the Diabolist entry, which is your consul type that you can take as well for Centurions. For 25 points, basically, you gain the Corrupted subtype and Psyker, and you get a Force Weapon and Diabolism. I'm just going to go through it now. A Dark and Terrible Power. When a charge is declared for a model with this power, or a unit that includes a model with this power, the controlling player can choose to make a Psych test before any dice are rolled to determine the charge distance. If it's passed, you gain Hammer Wrath 3, and your Strength and Toughness goes up by +1. So all your characters basically can jack themselves up with +1 Strength and Toughness and Hammer Wrath 3. If the checks failed, then the model suffers Perils of the Warp, and once has been resolved, gains +1 of the Strength and Toughness characteristic until the start of the turn. So you perils, but you still get the Strength and Toughness. The Warp basically suffuses you. And then you can shoot with Hellfire. It requires Psychic Focus. You need to make a test. If you pass, then you can do as it. Otherwise, you take a perils. It's a template, Strength 7, AP 4, Assault 1, Rending, and Deflagrate. So you can melt some brains. So that's an upgrade. Obviously, you've seen the Diabolist now too, but you can give it to Praetors as well. Dark Channeling. Any unit with the Traitor Allegiance and the Infantry or Dreadnought unit type, as well as Legions Astartes Wordbearers, can be Dark Channeling for 25 points. That means you gain Corrupted. So you get all the Corrupted subtype special rules, which means you cause Fear +1. Any hits inflicted on a model with Force or Psychic Force count as instant death. Any unit composed entirely of models with the Corrupted subtype are immune to the effects of Fear and automatically pass regroup checks. And if you fall back, you take D3 wounds instead with no saves or damage mitigation. And no models that have the Corrupted unit subtype or Damning unit subtype may join a unit that doesn't include models with that same subtype. Tainted Weapons. So basically all your weapons that are power weapons could become a Tainted Blade, Tainted Axe, or Tainted Maul. Now there's also all the demon guys who have Tainted Claws and Talons and the Dreadnoughts, but those are separate. So the Blade is user strength, AP3, melee rending 6+, and murderous strike 6+. You're basically getting murderous strike on everything. Tainted Axe is +1 AP2. It's unwieldy with murderous strike, and the Maul is +2 AP3 with murderous strike 6. The Claws are strength 9 AP2, melee brutal 2, and murderous strike 5. Those go on the Big Dread, the Corrupted Dread, and then Tainted Talons go on the Galvabrak. They are AP3, melee rending 6, murderous strike 6. Now Warpfire weapons are basically like somehow your bolters and cannons and stuff have been tainted by the warp. A pistol strength, it's 12-inch range, strength 6 AP4. They count as plasma for all effects, and you can upgrade all your plasma to do it. So instead of shooting like bolts of plasma, they shoot bolts of the warp. So the Warpfire pistol, and you can upgrade any of those, like a plasma pistol or whatever, to be these, is strength 6 AP4, pistol 1, breaching 4+, and pinning. So they cause pinning basically, in addition to being basic plasma weapons. The Warpfire blaster, strength 6 AP4, assault 2, breaching 4+, and pinning. And the Warpfire cannon, which is a plasma cannon, 36, strength 6 AP4, heavy 1, blast 3 inches, breach 4+, and pinning. And then bolt spitters, basically all the guys who turn into demons still kind of shoot bolt weapons, but no one can figure out how because they shoot out of like mouths and fleshy bolt gun things. Bolt spitters, 24-inch range, strength 4 AP5, and rapid fire. It's basically a bolt gun. And a great bolt spitter is 48-inch range, strength 5 AP4, heavy 6, and twin linked. That's the one that grows out of a dreadnought. We already went through the Corrupted subtype and the Diabolist. All right, we're into Lorgar, the man, the legend, the Aurelian, the guy who physically looks the most like the Emperor, and yet is a freaky dude who tattooed all over his face. You know what they say about getting face tattoos? You're never gonna have a normal life after that. So Lorgar's, but what is normal anyway? Lorgar's 415 points, and you see he's got kind of like a not great stat line. It's still Primarch, it's still great, but it's 6s across the board. He's movement 8 though, so he's a bit fast with a good charge, and he's got 5 attacks. He's got the Armor of the Word, just a 2+, 4+, but he's a 3+ invulnerable against any wounds inflicted by a force or psychic force weapons and perils. So even though he's able to be transfigured for 25 points, which makes him corrupted and gives him diabolism and stuff like that, because he's a psyker, then he'll get a save against all of those same things that can happen to him. He's a Luminarium. It's his big mace, +2 strength, AP2, melee, mastercrafted, armor brain, and brutal 2. So for having a kind of okay stat line, he has an amazing close combo weapon. He's strength 8, melee, mastercrafted, armor brain, and brutal with AP2. He will jack up another Primarch just by virtue of how good his mace is. And then Devotion's his gun. It's basically a Graviton gun, range 12 of strength 8, AP2, pistol 1, concussive 2, Graviton, haywire, and mastercrafted. So good at hitting vehicles. Almost never misses because it's 2's twin linked. And has a Graviton pulse as well, so it goes against your strength if you're going to hit like infantry with it. He's got his frag grenades as well, just for going through cover. And then he has Master Legion. It will not die 4+ instead of 3+. He gets his wounds back really easily. He is suffused with the warp. He's a Crusader for 2 pick the highest when he sweeps. And then Fortress of the Word. He gains the Psychic Thaumaturgy discipline from the core disciplines and may not select any other discipline. And divination, sorry. And then Power of the Word, which is any Legion command squad, Cataphracti squad, or Terminator squad that he is leading will gain Fearless and Feel No Pain 4+. In addition, once per battle, one friendly unit composed entirely of models with infantry or cavalry within 18 may be selected during that game turn to gain Fearless and Feel No Pain. So you can basically he inspires everyone around him with how convincing he is. That's his powers. He's a force multiplier. So he's a bit honestly, he's a bit you'll see this later on if you haven't watched it yet, the Alpha Legion Primarchs, Alpharius and Omegon, where they're a force multiplier rather than just an independent fighter. They're still a great fighter. You probably want them to bully smaller units, but their whole job is to make the guys around them better. In particular, you stick them in a 10-man Cataphracti squad or something like that, and or a Legion Cataphracti command squad, which I think is only 5-man, but they become almost impossible to kill. Fearless and Feel No Pain 4+. And he's a traitor, and he has Sire of the Wordbearers. So a unit composed entirely of models that have the Legion of Astartes Wordbearer special rule and can draw line of sight to Lorgar, add +1 of the charge distances, and may use his leadership for all leadership tests, morale checks, and pinning checks. In addition, an army with Lorgar gets an extra reaction in the assault phase as long as he's still alive. And like I said, when he's transfigured, he becomes corrupted, and he trades his other disciplines for anathemata and diabolism disciplines. So the Galvabrak squad, these are your big, possessed. Move 8, weapon skill 5, strength toughness 5 with 3 wounds each, initiative 5 and 3 attacks. Like I said, their tainted talons are pretty amazing, so they have that user strength, but they are, I believe it's rending and lethal strike. Yeah, rending 6 up, lethal strike 6 up, and AP 3. They've got their bolt spitters, just a bolt gun basically, frag and crack grenades, and power armor. And then they are corrupted, right? So they're going to get that you don't fall back, you take wounds instead, which won't actually probably kill one of them either. Rage 2+, Feel No Pain 5+, Bulky 2, and Traitor. 5 extra guys are 55 points each. And then Flamers, Melting Guns, Warp Fire Blasters, or Tainted Talons can be given in exchange for your Bolt Splitter. So if you have 2 Tainted Talons, you get 4 attacks per guy. For every 5 models, you can take a Power Weapon or a Power Fist. I wish you could take the Claw. The Claw would have been cool. I have one of them, a Giant Claw. And then the Ashen Circle are a very weird unit type. They're a heavy jump troop. So 125 points, move 7, but they have jump packs, Warhawk jump packs. They have Acadic Hand Flamers, which are interesting because they have Torrent 6 inches. So you actually place the template within 6 of them. And they're Assault 1 and Pinning with Strength 4 and AP 4. So an interesting, weird template weapon. An Axe Rake, which is basically a +1 Strength AP 3 Shred power weapon. So a big, weird power weapon. Frag and Crack, Melta Bombs, and Power Armor. And there's Stubborn Crusader, a Bitter Duty, so you can't join them except for with Mortats or other Bitter Duty models, and Scorched Earth. Scorched Earth is when this model would do Hammer of Wrath, which you normally do with jump packs. They get to add 1 to the number of Hammer of Wrath hits, and it counts as a flame attack, because they're basically on fire. 5 more guys are 20 points each, and you can take Inferno or Plasma Pistols for anybody's Hand Flamer, although I love the Hand Flamer. Take a Fox Vex Bomb or Artificer Armor on the leader. And They're an elite choice. So they're an interesting, weird elite choice, but their whole job was basically to pull down monuments and like deface all of like the belief systems of people during assaults. And what's funny is they still wear the gray power armor. So they still wear the original color of the word bearers. The Marigal Dreadnought, this thing is crazy. So it shows up basically during the Ruin Storm in Calth, and it's like a creation of like how insane like reality is splitting there during like this mass sacrifice that they do when they betray the Ultramarines. You get 1 Dread for 240 points. It doesn't get a Talon though, so you're taking them individually as elites. It has a Warp Fire Cannon, so it has that big giant Super Bolter, and a Tainted Claw with built-in Bolt Spitter. You can give it a Greater Bolt Spitter, which is the big Bolt Spitter, Gravis Melta Cannon, Auto Cannon, or Gravis Las Cannon. That's other, basically, you can twin the arms if you want, or give it an extra Talon with Bolt Spitter, so it has 4 attacks. It has It Will Not Die 5, Rampage 2, so if it's in a charge, it's going to have 5 attacks. Accursed, which means that all models of the demon unit type and or psyker or corrupted subtype reduce their toughness and strength by 1 within 6 of them. That includes your guys. He's basically like an anathema. He's like a pariah psyker demon dreadnought. Like a Malal dreadnought. It's very weird. He's got Pathfinder and Move Through Cover and Traitor, so he's gonna rampage through cover basically. He's pretty cool stat line, low ballistic skill, but high weapon skill. Weapon skill 6, strength up to 7, 8 wounds, initiative 5, 3 attacks, and a 2+ save. And then Shroud of Darkfire is kind of an automatic shield, but it's all the time he gets a 5+ invulnerable save. And any hit from Plasma, Flame, Melter, or Volkite, he's on fire, is -1 strength. If he ever suffers instant death, he takes D3 wounds instead of dying, and, like an automatic shield. And if a model with a special loses its last wound, it explodes D6 + 6 for an automatic strength 8 AP- hit. Because it basically does like the implosion, right? He sucks everything into the warp as he gets like sucked back. So very cool, like special dreadnought, and the model's amazing from Forge World. All right, Zardouliak, the Crimson Apostle, the Thriceborn, the Binder of Souls. This guy's the guy who changes his name after the betrayal, the censor at Colchis, or it's not Colchis, Monarchia, where the Ultramarines come and like wreck house. It's 300 points for him. He's a bigly boy because he comes with 2 Blade Slaves, which are like super Galvabrak. They're strength 6, toughness 5, so higher strength, initiative 5 with 3 attacks and a 3+ save. They come armed with Anacatus blades and plasma pistols, frag and crack. They have rage 2, bulky 2, feel no pain, chosen warriors to issue challenges, and relentless. So he's 300 points, but he's come with 2 extra guys. And their weapons are murderous strike 5 and brutal 2. So yeah, their swords are no joke. He himself, he's basically a Praetor with weapon skill 5, ballistic skill 5, strength toughness 4 and 4 wounds. He's got Master Legion, Relentless, Fearless, Hatred, Loyalist, so all of them, Binder of Souls, Traitor, and Eater of Wisdom. And he comes with Artificer armor. His cool Azurda Cheris, his weapon, it's a unwieldy Force AP2 melee weapon that counts as a Force weapon. The Panoply of Flame, which is his armor, but it makes that everybody within 12 inches who's a word bearer add +1 modifier when determining their victory in assaults and +1 of their sweeping advance rolls. So again, like I said, all the leaders in this army, for the most part, are like Force multiplier characters. They make the guys around them fight better. He has the Binder of Souls. He gains the Psychic Discipline Soul Binding and can't select anything else. It gives him the Psychic Discipline, powers weapons, and special rules as the Etheric Lightning psychic weapon. So he's got Soul Binding. When an enemy unit declares it will make a reaction to Zardouliak or any other unit he's joined, he can immediately suffer a Perils of the Warp, resolve all wounds inflicted before any part of the reaction is resolved. If he doesn't die, the reaction is just cancelled. But the reaction point is not expended, and the reaction, if it's one use only, is not considered to have been used. So basically, he can just continuously take Perils to not die. He has 4 wounds, so it won't kill him the first time, and you do get your invulnerable saves against Perils, he's going to get a 4+ invul against it too. And he just cancels reactions. It's basically him and his unit. So it's not like canceling all the time, but you can't really react to his unit without him just like soaking it up instead. And then he has a Psychic Weapon, which is his Telepathic Chains. 36-inch range, strength 2, assault 4, pinning, shell shock 3, and psychic focus. So it's a big pin test because you're -3 to your leadership from shell shock if you take a single casualty from that. And the psychic focus basically means that if you pass the check, you can use the weapon, otherwise you're going to suffer perils. And he has the Eater of Wisdom as his warlord trait. If he's your warlord, you can choose 3 units that are entirely corrupted on the battlefield in the same army as Zardouliak. That are also word bearers before the army is deployed. Actually, sorry, just friendly units. Doesn't even need to be word bearers. Just corrupted needs to be the subtype. All models in each of these units gain +1 strength movement characteristics, but must take a leadership test at every turn. If they fail it, they make it Perils of the Warp. Otherwise, everything happens as normal, and you get additional reaction in the assault phase. So he's going to get +1 strength and movement to 3 units that are corrupted in your army, just by taking him. Like I said, force multiplier, right? Argelto, again, a beautiful Forge World miniature, 240 points. This guy's very tragic. He's Karn's best friend from the Word Bearers, and they have this whole story arc through the Horus Heresy that's really compelling about them both basically falling. Because weirdly, Argelto is possessed by a demon, but is less corrupted and insane than Karn is at the end of it all, and is trying to like save his friend through most of the story. He's 240 points. He was the Lord Commander of the Serrated Suns that went into the Warp and comes back all messed up. Movement 8, weapon skill 6, strength toughness 5, 5 wounds, initiative 5, 4 attacks. He's a bigly boy, 2+ save. He's got umbral pinions and 2 demonic talons. So the demonic talons, once again, are not the claws. So they're just, I think, base strength AP3. Yeah, rending 6+, murder strike 6+. Frag and Crack, Artificer Armor. He's Master Legion, Independent, Relentless, Bulky 3, Feel No Pain 5+, Rage 2, so +2 attacks. He has 6 attacks on the charge, and he's a traitor. His Warlord trait's the Crimson Lord. If he's your Warlord, then both Argelto and any Galvabrak he joins get a 5+ info on the line unit subtype. So he's also line, which means he can score. You get an additional assault phase reaction as long as he's alive as well. And then, sorry, his demonic challenge are a murder strike 5+, running strike 5+. They're not the same as the ones in the thing. I forgot he has bespoke ones. And then umbral pinions give him a jump pack basically. So he's got movement of 14 if he wants to employ them. His wings or whatever, and he can still run when he does it, which adds his initiative of 5 to give him a 19-inch move. He can Norse train while he does it too. All right, High Chaplain Erebus, the abusive father that makes Lorgar who he is. I love this guy because he's, oh no, so this is Erebus. This is, I'm thinking of Corferon. High Chaplain Erebus, the guy who talks, it's kind of the same thing. The guy who talks, what's his name? Who talks Lorgar into being the bad guy when all is said and done. He's basically read too many books, become corrupted, and when the censure happens in Monarchia, he just says, like, there's other gods, man. I read some books. There's some stuff we can go look into. It'll all be great. He's not a huge, powerful character, but he's the shadow behind the throne. So for 165 points, this guy's got kind of just enhanced Centurion stats. He's got 3 wounds and 4 attacks and a 2+ save. He's got his Plasma Pistol, the Crux Malefica, which is his like special Crozius, +3 strength AP2, melee and unwieldy, so it goes last. His Artificer Armor, Iron Hail of Frag and Crack grenades. He does have the Corrupted and Psyker special rules, so he gains Harbinger of Chaos as a psychic discipline, and he can breach the veil and use Etheric Lightning. So the Esoterics can do the Etheric Lightning, but he can breach the veil and summon demons, which is very cool. His other special rules, he's Master Legion, Independent, Relentless, Hatred, Loyalists, Fearless, Harbinger of Chaos, which is the one I just read. And that means that he can select up to 3 non-compulsory Elite or HQ choices from the Ruinstorm Demon Army list. These choices are paid for in points and occupy the slots of the Force Organization chart as normal, but must play in reserve and can only come through Breach the Veil. So this is the guy that brings in the big demons, because you can take HQ choices and Elite choices. So Blood Crushers, Bloodthirsters, you want that stuff in your army? The Word Bearers with High Chaplain Erebus are how you're getting it. And then finally, he has Shadow Behind the Throne. When High Chaplain Erebus is the army's warlord, it's part of a unit composed entirely of models with any version of the Legion Astartes X special rule. No wounds ever get allocated to him. He's a Skaven warlord. And regardless, the attacking model's rules or effects. You can't even use precision strikes on him or be a Primarch to kill him. If High Chaplain Erebus is engaged in a challenge, then this rule doesn't apply, so you can challenge him out. However, if High Chaplain Erebus' controlling player refuses a challenge for a unit that includes High Chaplain Erebus, then the opposing player loses the option to stop a model from participating in combat. He has no honor. In addition, if he's in your army, you get additional reaction in any one of the opposing player's phases chosen by the controlling player at the start of the battle, as long as he's not removed as a casualty. He's a schemer. He picks the phase he wants. So here we have Corferon, the abusive dad. This is the guy who adopts Lorgar basically when he arrives on Colchis, and I love that he's just a human. He's just a man, and he was loved so much by Lorgar that the Emperor basically like augmented him and kept him alive and made him into like a pseudo Astartes, but not really Astartes. So he's weapon skill 5, ballistic skill 4, but he's only strength toughness 3 with 4 wounds. He's initiative 3 and 3 attacks because he's just a man, right? He's just a regular human basically, as best you can make them, with a 2+ save. He has the Patriarch's Claws, which are like these bionic enhancing claws that let him fight almost like a Space Marine. a Digiflamer, which is a little symbol of office with a flamethrower built into it, and the Terminus Consularis. So his claws, the Patriarch's claws are AP2, melee, and shred, which means his strength 3 doesn't count for quite so much because he can wound on re-rolling. And he's AP2. And then the Digiflamer, and they're 2 separate weapons that count as a pair, so he gets an extra attack with them for 4 attacks. The Digiflamer is just a template strength 4 pistol 1, so it's a little hand flamer. The Terminus Consularis is his big suit of Terminator armor. It's basically keeping him alive and helping him move around. He can't leave it though. He's got a 2+ armor save and an invulnerable save of 3+ in the shooting phase and 5+ in the movement and assault phases. And then he has heavy, character, corrupted, and unique. So the Terminus Consularis is like a better, almost like, because he's heavy, a better cataphracti suit, so he can reroll his failed blast weapons saves as well. If Corferon or Lorgar is not chosen as the warlord of an army that Corferon's part of, then his leadership is reduced by -1. And he gains the Hatred Everything special rule, because he hates not being a Space Marine. He hates that he couldn't get the Astartes training. Conversion. When Corferon's included in the same army as Lorgar, both of them get +1 weapon skill and the Hatred Everything special rule while they're part of the same unit. So if he's around, you want him with Lorgar to jack him up and make a weapon skill 7. And then he is bulky 2, relentless, feel no pain 5+, it will not die 5+, the jealous command. And then dark oratory is his warlord trait. When he's your warlord, the controlling player can choose one of the following 2 options at the beginning of each of their own turns. Either cruel invective. All enemy units that are at least 1 model within 12 of Corferon at the start of the Corferon's controlling player's turn must make an immediate pin test and become pinned if the test has failed. So he just causes a pin test for everyone within 12. Or threatening entreaties, Corferon and the unit he's joined to gain the fearless special rule until the start of the next turn. The controlling player's next turn. But all models other than Corferon and the unit reduce their weapon skill by -1 until the start of the controlling player's next turn. Because they're fearless, but he threatens them, so they don't fight as well. In addition, you get an additional assault phase reaction if he's your warlord and isn't dead. And that's it. So, very characterful. This is like the Chaos Army. Now, obviously, we might get expansions for this game that take us closer to the Siege of Terra, where there's going to be more chaosy stuff coming and more corrupted stuff coming. But if you want to dive into demons and stuff, I'm really hoping we see the rules for the Demons of the Ruined Storm. And also because I want to take Solar Auxilia in my Raven Guard. See those like come out relatively quickly, but this is the most demon-y, chaosy flavored stuff you can possibly, I think, take right away. Miniatures are gorgeous. Argelto, super cool. Even Lorgar, he's subtle, but he's a very cool miniature. Corferon's awesome. There's Erebus. The Galvabrak. You've got a Praetor, and then right here you've got zardouliak. They have a full complement of characters. Oh yeah, and there's your jacked up Marigal Dreadnought. You can see he's all like demonic and stuff already too. And Ashen Circle guy. So yeah, I love these guys because they're the most chaosy Chaos Legion or Traitor Legion kind of out the gates. And if that's what you're looking for, and you want an army that kind of leans into its actual troops and stuff, they do a good job at augmenting what's on the table. You're gonna have good leadership like possibility and capability, as well as like it's just a really varied army list that you can take. And a Rite of War that you're probably gonna use all the time. The Sacrifice Rite of War is just super cool and really thematic and lets you play into that whole like corrupted thing over time. So yeah, definitely a fun choice if you're looking for chaos sakes. And I think that they are evocative of that. I mean, they basically caused the Horus Heresy to happen. So if you're looking just to lean into being bad, these are the ones to do it with. So that's it. On the final one. If you haven't watched it already, the Alpha Legion are next. So big thanks for watching. Till next time, I'm Ash. Hey there, I hope you enjoyed that video. There are tons of other games already recorded for you to watch. Click over to my channel page if you haven't already, and have a look through the dozens of playlists full of videos. I guarantee you'll discover a game you haven't seen played before. I put out new videos 7 days a week, and every day is themed to a different genre as I continue to explore the wider world of gaming. Of course, none of that's possible without you, the viewer, so click a like and subscribe if you'd like to stay on top of what's happening here daily. My 2 kids and I are massively grateful to be able to have the flexibility of this job so I can always maximize my time with them. If you want to support me continuing to put out this content, it's only possible because of my amazing backers on Patreon who support the studio, equipment, and model cost, as well as being how I make the bulk of my living. You can also help out by buying a t-shirt through Spreadshirt, a measuring gauge or widget from Deathray Designs, or buying one of my games and supplements like Last Days, Gamma Wolves, and Blaster. As a way of showing my appreciation, patrons get early access to new games and supplements that I write throughout the course of the year. Huge thanks for watching, it really does help out, and happy gaming.